Yeah, so it's questions, of course. So I found the question very interesting. It was around the blog that I posted about Dharma and justice. So I'll try to address all the questions that you have asked me, though the language has been slightly derailing and defocusing. See, for me, Dharma is not a concept, and I do remember the question that you posted in terms of the tika that I wear all the time or the thread that I wear usually. See, so these are things that you can take off, and not just that. Uh, your name is Jaren. So, Jaren, it's not just a religion, it's a belief mechanism that I hold. So, I'll try to stock the difference to you and hope it works. So, to me, fair truth is dharma and truth is justice, and I'll explain why. And I'm reading this because I've jotted down pointers that I could take cues from as I go on talking. Okay? Justice could often be shrunk perspective, so it could be limited. I'm not saying it's always inaccurate, yet it could be limited. It could be confined to a space of land, it could be confined to the respective area's belief system, the value chain, the immediate realities. That's a big factor. For instance, now look at Delhi. Women protection of women has become such a grave issue only because there are a lot of incidents that we are witnessing against women. If that were not the case, if it was a land where we never heard something about threat to women, would we be so conscious of this subject at this given point in time? Probably no. So it does impact majority population. So for me, justice is often at the mercy of witnesses, evidence, what and how. It is the what and how of things mostly. What happened, how it happened, who did it. Those are the core questions that we try to find answer to, because subsequently we would want to punish the person, prosecution, and we call it justice. So if somebody's killed someone, killing him back is often referred to as justice. I think justice could often be manipulated by efficient people. People who hold a sound, powerful position in the society could often end up manipulating justice, though it is called truth. Dharma, on the other hand, according to me, and this is purely my understanding of the few books that I've read and the bit of education that I've got from a lot of not so business-minded people in my entire life. Dharma is more omnipresent. It is more purposeful. It is usually profound. It is a deeper thought. Why things happened is very important to Dharma. Why did something begin? Who triggered what? Was it required? And had it been entertained, would it have led to something better? That is what Dharma is, in my understanding. It is not about your immediate future looking greener. It is about the eventual reality looking brighter. For as many people as possible, the larger that audience, that set of recipients, the better your Dharma, I believe. So the deeper you think about it, the closer you get to it. It might take you time. It might take you 50 years, but that is not the deciding factor. So why I mentioned a few names and I was watchful while writing about them, be it Napoleon, be it Bhagat Singh, or be it Karna. I think all these people fought the battle with the knowledge of the fact that they could lose and they had to lose because they were against Dharma. But they still had an aim to at least set foundation for something that had long-term benefit for the larger population. And I believe that is why human beings are born. It is not about forecasting the immediate reality. It's also about ascertaining what may happen a few years down the line after you and I are gone. It could be that as well. So you might find it adulation, protest. So adulation is when someone supports you, protest is right opposite to that. But I think all of that is just social adulteration to your system. At times your system, as in how you think within, is very straight. Often we try to manipulate it according to things that we find around us, and that is, I don't think that is dharmic. That may be justified. Like I said, justice and dharma are two distinctly opposite poles. Justice could be manipulated. If you are very efficient, you would hold a stature in the society. You could buy the best lawyers, you could generate witnesses, you could create events. There is no limit to how much you could manipulate that situation. But as far as dharma is concerned, dharma is something you feel within. You cannot have two ways about it. You would always know whether you were right or not to begin with. So that's a very big. And all of us do notice almost every day of our lives, right? There's so much wrong happening in the society. There are so many wrong things happening in the society, but still the world is taking rounds and we have another day. I think that is dharma, because eventually that applies. It is not about these small bites of what happened. It is about what nature tolerates best. And if you're a traveler, you would usually observe that when you cross borders, when you're in somebody else's periphery, you almost find that your own thoughts are turning mythical. So suddenly you realize what's considered bad in your country may be great in this country, or vice versa. Whatever the reality is, it's quite mystical, But that's why I feel the traveler is the ultimate genius, because he realizes that he's nothing. He's a nobody. He holds a very uni-focused view on life. It is usually through his own lens. It's only when you apply a different lens that you see another perspective. And if you are important, so is the other person. Is it not? It's one life, after all. If we don't agree at that, then the entire purpose is falling flat. People like Hardik Patel that I usually write against, the only problem I hold with them is that they are separatists. They are trying to separate this country, a country where we have Patels, Khans, Agarwals, Nayaks, Pillais, which I am, Nayars, everybody living in harmony. That is the country. We are already born into it. That's nature's decision. So going against it, I think, is the wrongdoing. That is not dharma. That may be justified, basis the situation, but still not dharma. Okay, so dharma is very different, way different. Justice, and I firmly believe justice also Justice also has to do a lot with material acquisition, and I'll explain why. See, the more concrete plans you make in life, the more disheartened you may be by the consequences. If that's too fast to fathom, then think deeper. When you make concrete plans, life may take its own turns. Then you get worried. Why did that happen? I did not foresee it. Because there is a limit to how much one brain could foresee against one entire life. A life pattern. Because there are two factors that actually impact you. One is external. Somebody throws something at you and you turn angry. That is an external factor that triggered your emotion. When you already are irritated from within all the time, probably for no good reason, that is an internal factor. You may need a correction once in a while, but if you are someone who understands everybody and is more accepting as an individual to circumstances around you, imagine how beautiful life is going to be. So the material chasers usually are after a big car, a bigger car, a big house, a bigger house, a great job, a greater job, and public acceptance. Okay, all of us are to a certain degree, and I think that's what gets us. See, material existence is not insignificant, it is significant. All of us need money for survival. It is obvious. But how much do you go after it? How much do you value it? What things do you put in the back burner to achieve this milestone is what decides what kind of a person you are. Nothing else. You may be alive or dead today, but how you lived is what is going to be your value chain. It is not about what you achieved. What you achieved, you have already passed on to the next generation. You can't carry anything away. I've read in the most scientific books that the material stays, people are gone. And I am from a fairly scientific family, okay? So I cannot support something that is totally dubious. See, we also get pretty confused between words like ambition, dream, goal, the meaning of my life. I'll give you an example. When a parent pushes a student, for instance, to top a class, and let's assume that the parents are aiming, the student does achieve it, and they see it as the end of the world. It often happens. If you haven't experienced it, I have, so I would want to believe it. And let's say the student is someone who is very easygoing. He wants to take one bite at a time. He does not want to get a go at life just out of the blue. He's someone easygoing, okay? Yet, in that whole attempt, I see a paradox. A paradox being lived. And I'll explain what it is. So the parent says, I can't see you achieve so less in your life, which means this achievement is nothing against the parent's wish. In a way, you are enslaved, that parent is enslaved to their own wishes and control. If you fail with your own wish, you are someone who gets affected by your own wish. What right do you have to control a human being's life? Should he not take the route that he believes will take him somewhere? Or should he be living a life that someone thinks is better for him? I don't know, it's just a thought. But I always thought everybody has a purpose around what they are ending up doing, It may not be as sensible, but people are not so vocal about it. And if they are not, that does not make it the truth. Just because we accept it blindly, it should have some sense around it. Because sense is science. Science always makes sense. And science is the only truth that man has ever known. Everything else is fiction or imaginary. So are you living in an imaginary world, or are you pro-science? If you're pro-science, then you will only believe on things that you've noticed already, or something that you've assumed calculatively, not by imagination. Imagination is poetic. Poets can write anything. It's about living a life on clouds. Can that really happen? It can't. So, it's about science too. So, the parent that I'm referring to is someone who wishes the best for his child, which is a noble purpose. But why only for your child? What about so many children around you? And if you see a difference between him and those children, can you preach equality in front of him? If you do, that's paradox, I think. You're not living your own values. So am I saying that you need to go forth and help somebody beyond your capacity? Not essentially. Not at the cost of your survival. You should strive for your own survival. I think that's why you're born as one human being. You are responsible and accountable for your own life and nothing else. Yet, if you want to preach beyond your life, you have to make decisions. You can choose not to have kids, for instance. That makes more sense than to have kids and then bifurcate. I'll tell you one thought that I've got a couple of days ago, Harsh. The thought is, the right king doesn't hold onto his throne. He steps down at the right time for a successor worth it. For the province need to progress, kings come and go. What I mean by that is, if a king is too possessive of the position he holds in the kingdom, I don't call that leadership. Leadership is about ladders. People should progress. If people did not progress beyond you, you're not a leader. You ate a lot, you may have bought a lot, procured a lot. Procurement is not really achievement. Achievement is when you made a difference, just by your presence. That is achievement in human life, in my belief. I may be wrong, horribly, yet I believe achievement is when you leave behind something even after you're gone. The characters I spoke about, those are people who died many years ago, but we still do remember their names, don't we?